What if you could know exactly what the hiring manager is looking for when he's recruiting for a remote work position? What if you could speak to the person and ask those questions that you have in mind, but you never had the chance to ask the person? So today is your luck day. I'm going to be asking questions and talking to a hiring manager that hires for a remote work position. Let's go over the backstage and all the details on the recruitment process for remote work positions. I am Juliana Rabi, and I help professionals to land a remote job in 90 days. This is my YouTube channel, and every week I share a new video related to career, to remote jobs, to job interviews, to curriculum, to LinkedIn, and to all things career related. So please go ahead and click on the follow button. So every week you're going to see a new video that will hopefully help you in your career. Today, I'm really excited to have my guest Jamil today for this interview. He is a very special person. He's a veterinarian. He has a master and a PhD, so he really knows about his business. And on the top of that, he's the account manager of his company, and he also is the one in charge of the recruitment process. And there is much more. So, Jamil, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure, sure. Thank you for the invitation, Juliana. Happy to talk to you today. Our field of work is swine production, but we brought the swine industry, the swine production to online, to digital, and then we are working in since 3 years ago, working in this digital media side of a really not digital area. Of
Yes.
course, if you produce pigs, you not do it through Facebook or through LinkedIn,
Yeah.
but we are doing bringing a lot of new insights to the digital side of things to the swine industry. So I'm a vet. I got my master's and my PhD. I worked for 4 years in the biggest swine production company of Brazil, and then I'm a big fan of technology, innovation. So I have a team behind me, beside me, working together. That they really love technology as well and pig production. So why not we develop a company focus on what we like and what we love? So swine production and digital media, everything as you
All of that
said,
together.
doing yeah, and everything that as you said, doing remotely.
Nice, nice. So were you recruiting people to work remotely before the pandemic, or it was something that you started doing because of the pandemic?
Yeah, we started before the pandemic since our company, since the creation works remotely. So, of course, now we are expanding our operations and increasing our size. And of course, we are upgrading and improving day by day our recruitment process, since this is a totally different world when you are recruiting someone that you, of course, when you are recruiting someone, you don't know this person, but of course you're gonna have a face-to-face contact and you feel the person. But
Not
now
anymore.
everything, yeah, now it's something like you check his or her Instagram profile or her LinkedIn profile. Of course, this is the first tip of the day. You need to have your LinkedIn very updated, or not just the LinkedIn, but try to pay attention in your personal marketing, like something that it's not something that it will recruit you, it will make you have this job, get this job,
But it will
but you
make a
need to pay
difference,
attention.
right? Yeah.
Of course, of course.
You also
At least,
mentioned Instagram. Also Instagram.
yeah,
It's normally
yeah,
a
Instagram.
account, but hiring managers do check that, right? That's what you're saying.
Sure, yeah. For example, we are living hard times in all the globe, but now in Brazil we are living tough times here, and there's a lot of people putting in their social media their political position. So this is not something that you should do or you shouldn't do, but of course, if
Communicate your
I'm
problem.
recruiting someone, yeah, of course I will pay attention. Oh, this guy is very he exposes himself a lot talking about political and a lot of fake news. So you could be the best guy in marketing and I need a guy from to the marketing team, but you are so you have more than knowledge. You need to be a easygoing person, a good communicative person. So it's not just your profile, is not just your uh, knowledge. It's a mix of everything. But of course, if I need to say something, that pay attention to your LinkedIn for sure. We are gonna look to your LinkedIn at first.
So first lesson, LinkedIn is important. And I always say that, Jamil, always. But I look kind of biased because I work with that. So it's nice when other people say that because this is the reality. And also you mentioned Instagram. So I remember when I was working as a recruiter, sometimes I didn't have the time because of the work volume to check like the candidate's Facebook, the candidate's Instagram. But the hiring manager always was telling me, Juliana, did you check his Instagram? Did you check his Facebook? And maybe I haven't. But the hiring manager check that because you're going to work in the person's team. So you want to know who is that person that you're bringing in. So
Sure.
great. Yeah. Thanks for the
Yeah,
first tip.
yeah. This is something that it's very interesting since we are always learning more and more about recruitment. I'm not from the human resource department, but I really want to know the folks that are going to work with me, the folks that are going to work for me, and as we are going to this area, to remotely area of recruitment, we are paying attention a lot of ask the right questions in an application. This is probably the core of the recruitment, since of course you have the name, the phone number, the email, what you like to do, what is your hobbies, but you need to understand better this person.
Why don't you walk us through, Jamil, the steps, every step that the candidate needs to go through when they apply for a position in your company since the beginning. So let's start with the application that will be done online, right? They fill up the form. What happened after they apply for the job? Let's go step by step.
We use a software that we use Monday, and we can have, for example, the name. We can create a funnel and then categorize. So this guy is for more. I can direct this guy for marketing, this guy from content production, this guy from commercial area,
you
and
filter
then
the application.
Yeah.
The areas they could.
Because sometimes this is very important, since sometimes you are recruiting for some opportunity in your company, and you find someone very good, but not to this spot, but to another one that you may have in the near future. So we try to do.
Is that you try as much as possible to relocate people if you consider they
Yep.
another position.
Because sometimes someone feel everything that you need, but not for this opportunity, for another one. But so in the first step of this is online, as I said, online visibility. I will check your LinkedIn, I will check your Instagram for sure.
In the application process, as soon as someone applies, you're going to check their LinkedIn before you start the process.
So like in a short, and this is something that we usually do. We talk internally to our team because, for example, in my area, swine production, I'm already working in a company. I have partners that working in other companies, so we know. Right? Yeah, we have a big network, and we know almost everyone. So I will ask to my partners, hey, do you know this guy? You know that guy? And of course, the leadership of the leadership team has access to this funnel of recruitment, and they can put some comments. So maybe, Juliana, do you know this guy? Yeah, I know. So this guy worked with me. He's very good on this. He's bad on this. So we try to understand.
Let me make a pause here. This is very important. So companies are getting feedback about you as a candidate even before they speak to you. So companies are checking not only your application and all the answers you gave during the application process, but also your LinkedIn profile, maybe your other social media, and they are asking their network, their internal team, if people know you, if people work with you, because they can see, right, in your curriculum where you worked before. So if they have someone who worked in that company. So networking and the impression you give in your previous jobs, they are also important, even before the company speak to you, right? In the application.
Right.
What comes next? The application.
Yeah, one thing that is very simple is we need to make this question: does this candidate can do simple tasks? For example, when someone applies for this uh, job, we reply them back and we ask, can you send me a video, a 1 minute video talking about you? Why do you apply for this job? And can you do this personality test with these two informations? It's not just the quality of the video, it's not just the profile of the personality test. It's if you can do simple tasks. Why? If I ask you a 1 minute video and you answer me a 1 minute and 30 seconds video,
You're
you
not
can't.
following the instructions. I
Yeah,
always
yeah,
tell that to my clients. A 1 minute is not a 5 minutes. And some people say,
yeah,
I have a lot to say. Well, they won't listen to you. If it's a 1 minute video,
sure.
you better stick to 1 minute video. Yeah.
And why I will say why it's just 1 minute. It's because probably I will select, for example, 10 folks, and I will share with my team the 10 videos. So I will take 10 minutes from all of my team, and if I share this video to 10 people, it's more than 1 hour of our team
There is
paying
a
attention
reason.
to.
There is a reason behind that. So as a candidate,
Of,
we should follow those steps. Like there is no point of sending a 2 minutes video. You probably
yeah,
won't even watch this video,
yeah.
right? You're probably gonna
This
delete
is
the person.
sure. Yeah, sure. Sometimes when we have a lot of videos and there's a 2 minute video, no, you are out. Of course, I will reply you back. Thank you for your application, but you are not selected.
It's a bit hard, but that's the reality. And that's exactly why I decided to interview you, because people who are, applying for jobs, they don't really understand the amount of work, the volume that candidates that apply and all of that. So
Yeah,
like 5 seconds more in a video, it is a lot of time. So it's better to stick with the instructions to make sure that at least people are watching your video or checking your test or reading your resume, whatever. Follow the instructions, because otherwise you're going to be eliminated because you're not
yeah,
following the
yeah. You
instructions.
said something very important, that everything has a reason.
Yeah,
So if I ask you this, there is a reason why I ask you this.
yeah.
If I ask you to do that, to click here, there is a reason, because we don't know you. We will not have face-to-face contact.
This is
We
all
don't know
before
you.
the face to face, right? This is all happening
Yeah,
before you speak.
yeah. You need to be classified to like to the next step, and then this is something that will cut like in the middle. So
Yeah. Well,
50% will stay.
selection is about that. You're selecting people, and then once they move ahead, you're going to start really, selecting, checking the details. But at the beginning, you need to cut the
Mhm.
majority of them. So it's a bit strict, but it is like this in your company, and it is like this in all the companies I worked as a recruiter for 15 years. So there is no flexibility, at least at the initial steps of the process. And also, I was wondering, like in general, which are the main things that you evaluate in the recruitment process? The main
Mhm.
skills, the main things that you take into consideration in general in the recruitment process.
Yeah, the first thing is, as I said, the simple tasks. You need to fill these tasks. You need it's, as I said, it's simple. So you just need to record a 1 minute video. Oh, but I'm too shy. So you will not work with me. So if you are too shy,
True.
if you, yeah, it's a 1 minute video. I will not share your video in Instagram and everything. So I just want to know you as when
Yeah.
you apply to a face-to-face one. The second thing is that the capacity to have not a high level, but a medium level of work with simple technology. For example, if I send you a Zoom link to your agenda, to your Google agenda, you need to say yes or no. You need to answer, because otherwise you are saying,
Not
you are talking to
confirmed.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are saying that you don't know how to use Google Agenda or Google Calendar. So this is something that for us working remotely, we need to use these apps and these devices and all this free technology like a king. So you need to use, for example, we usually say, if it's not in my Google Calendar, I will not make it. I will not
Yeah.
be there. I will not stay in this meeting. I will not attend this conference, because everything that we are doing in a remote world should be very you should have a lot of discipline, because it's not something that you have a boss talking to you what you have to do. No, you are in your house. You are in your place. You can go ahead and drink a coffee and stay in your couch for an hour.
So you get the feeling about it from the candidate, even when you send a link Zoom to schedule the interview. You can see all those things by if the person accepts, if the person knows how to use Zoom and all of that. That's interesting.
Yeah. And something that, for example, hey Jamil, I received your email. Thank you. See you there. This is something very simple, but shows me that you are very interested. And probably if you are very interested, probably you do a better job than the others that didn't. So
again,
this is something
details count, right? The small thing can make a difference. So following tasks, this is the first thing that that makes a candidate move ahead in the process. Then show skills to deal with technology in general. Is there like a third aspect?
Yeah. This is probably the ones.
Okay.
This is very simple technology. I'm not asking, hey, can you run statistics using Python or using
basic
SAS?
Things. What most of us is doing during the pandemic already, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you can't accept a meeting in your agenda, probably you have trouble to work remotely.
Yes, I hear you. That happened to me already. Yeah, and the situation didn't end up well after that. Yeah. And what about the soft skills, Jamil? Those things that are more related to behavior, the things that you cannot train them, not technical skills, not things that you learn at the university, but more soft skills, more related to behavior. Which are the key soft skills that you value when you are recruiting someone to work remotely?
This is king. This is very important since this face-to-face contact we don't have.
Yeah.
Since your curriculum doesn't say anything about your soft skills.
Right. You're saying that in your case, the soft skills, the behavior, the motivation, the ability to deal with others, to communicate is more important than the technical skill itself, because you can train people for their job or the systems they're going to use. You can train this part. It's easier to train that than to train communication, motivation, being proactive, and all of that. Is that correct?
Correctly, completely. Yeah, and this is something very important. We need to take care of our people. And when you build a full trainment for your people, you are taking care. You're not putting the guy in the jungle. Go sales.
Maybe you have a great person, but you don't train the person. Then the person won't perform well. But it's not his or her fault. It's because you abandon the person there and just expect things to work as a miracle. But it's not like that. Especially because the person is going to be in her house working alone. So there is not the typical colleague who can help me with that. No, it's like the person and the team on the other side of the screen. So the train is extremely important. And I know that not all remote companies do it.
Yeah. And also, you said something very important. For example, if you're going to do sales, just one example, you need to have a good internet connection.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are in the middle of a meeting and you will not sell anything.
Yeah.
You need to
don't close any deal like that.
Yeah, sure. You need to have a nice background. And these things, the guy from the face-to-face sales don't need to pay attention on that. Because he goes to the client.
Yeah.
Now I need to schedule a meeting to the client. So I need to have a nice
background, the microphone, all of that. Again, details are important in the process. So for whoever is watching this video, details count. Your clothes, your presentation, the background, having a good microphone, having a quiet place. Like I close my door to record a video to avoid, you cannot control all the noises, but at least you try to minimize the situation. And Jamil, I was wondering if the recruitment process that you were doing changed during the pandemic, or if you're doing exactly the same steps, the same process, the same volume since the pandemic. So was there any major change that you noticed?
Yeah, there are some changes. Most of them related to the size of our company that increased a lot in the last 2 years. Last year, 1.5 years. But what changes is that we received a lot more curriculums, applications, people trying to work with us, not because of only of the pandemic, but because people think that I can work remotely. I can take care of my baby. I can take care of my life. If I want, the dream of all employee is to not all employee, but the best ones is to receive money, is to receive your salary by production, not by time.
Yes, not by being
And
seated in the office, just doing nothing. No, but you have
yeah,
to be there.
absolutely.
Yeah. And as a company also, you can select more because your criterion also increase, right? As more people know the basic things, you can go a little bit more and see who go one step ahead and all of that. So that's interesting because you increase the level of people and you go for the best ones, definitely.
Yeah, sure. And we already have some good examples of people that left our company, and then the other company that hires this guy hired because, oh, you work in that remotely company, so you are in because they want people with these skills. So they want to have this trust. I will pay the salary for this guy to work 3 days a week, and he's going to work. He's going to
Yeah.
produce.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you hire people to work remotely even if they don't have previous remote experience?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we do that. We pay a lot of attention on that. And of course, in the beginning, we are gonna pay a lot of attention in what you are doing.
Remote work, I agree with you, Daniel. It shows a lot about the results, the performance, and if you can get things done. So it doesn't matter if you're in your house,
Yeah.
if you are working from the couch, if you have dogs, kids, baby, whatever. It's like you're doing the job, you're bringing results, you're showing up when you have meetings, you're respecting
Yep.
the deadlines, and that's what counts. And I also love it because it's like such a relief. I don't need to be friends with the boss to be promoted. I don't need to
Sure.
be smiling all the time. I need to do my work, get things done, and then that's what counts. Yeah. I think we could keep talking for hours here, but let's just wrap up. I'm really thankful that you shared so much in this video, so much information, the details, and I'm happy to see that more and more companies, even from traditional industries, are opening to remote work. There was not much choice, to tell you the truth, but some companies are still struggling with that. And I can see that you are doing very well. The number of positions available are growing, the team is growing. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Much congratulations for all this amazing job that you are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elena, for the opportunity. Thank you for the invitation. And the take home message is that the companies need to take care of their people. So if you can have better or even the same results and your people is happier, so you succeed.
Yeah, thank you.